Hi there, and welcome to the podcast Confessions of a Stenographer. I'm Dave Wenhold, and today we'll be talking about the state of the industry in the court reporting field. Good afternoon. I want to take a minute of your time to thank Shanice for having me on our podcast today. I also want to wish you and your families a safe and happy holiday season. I hope you are all healthy and stay that way through our pandemic until we get the vaccine and get back to normal. I am honored to be here and talk with you about what's going on at NCRA and in the industry. I am Dave Wenhold, and I'm the current Executive Director and Chief Lobbyist for the National Court Reporters Association. I have been with the organization for 21 years in various positions, including Manager of State Relations, Director of Government Relations and Public Policy, Outside Chief Lobbyist, Interim Executive Director, twice on that one, and now the Permanent Executive Director for the association. To say I love this profession would be an understatement. I've helped many state associations create strategies to pass pro-court reporter and captioner legislation while fighting off rules and regulations that would hurt the profession and all reporters and captioners. I also created legislation in Congress that brought over $20 million to the court reporting and captioning programs nationwide and provided many scholarships to students entering the schools. In my time with NCRA, I've worked with members of Congress to bring the Veterans History Project to the National Court Reporters Foundation. And through our members volunteering their time, we have captured and transcribed thousands of oral histories of our fellow Americans who have served and protected our country over the decades. If you haven't had an opportunity to participate in the Veterans History Project, I strongly suggest you do. It is emotional, eye-opening, and it is just a fabulous program. About 20 years ago, I also created the NCRA Legislative Boot Camp. And last year, I met your host, Shanice, there, and she can tell you that the training that goes into that boot camp and the Hill visits is pretty intense. She did a great job there and is a great advocate for the profession. I don't want to bore you with all the other things I've done for the profession over time, but kind of wanted to give you some background of who I am and why I care so much about the profession. But I do need to say that this profession and our members are my family. My dad, when I was growing up, he mentioned that you should always try to leave a place better than what you found it. And that is my goal for NCRA and the profession. So that is what I try to do every day at NCRA. And while I might not be able to write my name on the steno machine, even after 21 years, I sure can sell the profession to decision makers in order to protect your interests. From a personal standpoint, I'm the proud father of 2 adult boys and the proud young grandfather of 2 beautiful girls. I'm also an adrenaline junkie that loves and competes in almost all sports, but my passion is fishing in the Florida Keys. But that is enough about my background. The only reason I gave you that is to let you know that I'm very familiar with every issue that you deal with every day. And as the NCRA Executive Director, it is my job to implement the strategic direction of the organization as it is set by the NCRA Board of Directors, your Board of Directors. We also have 23 professional association management employees at NCRA that handle every aspect of the organization that range from handling the JCR, which is a wonderful magazine, putting on our fabulous conventions. If you've been to one, you know there's a lot of work that goes into that. Processing your membership, handling the advocacy components of the association, which include going to Capitol Hill, pre and post COVID, of course, and talking with legislators about what you do. You'd be surprised at how many people on Capitol Hill really don't know what a court reporter or captioning captioner does. And it's our job to make sure that we educate them on that. We also are negotiating every contract to gain the biggest savings and being a fiscal hawk for every dollar that's coming into the organization. Other staff also handle the website and the CEU component and other educational opportunities. I'm going to be candid, I've been doing this for almost 30 years now in the association and lobbying world, and the folks working for you are some of the finest people I personally have had the honor of working with. And every day they are working to make your lives, your professional lives, better. Okay, so let's talk about the state of the industry and what NCRA has been doing as an organization. First, let's all agree that 2020 has been a heck of a year, and I think most of us agree that it is time to kick 2020 to the curb and move into 2021 with a new plan. When COVID first came on the scene in late February, early March, NCRA and the board staff got together in those early weeks and realized that we would have to find a new way to help people, and people go remote, and we needed to do that very, very quickly. We tapped into some of our current and former leaders to put together free webinars on how to set up Zoom depots and how to use remote options in the courthouse, as well as those that wanted to help with the captioning shortages, or those that wanted to pivot from court reporting to captioning. And by the way, I hate that term pivot. Pandemic, COVID, all of those can be removed from our dictionaries, I would hope, at some point in time. We had offered our Zoom meetings for free, and within 3 days, we had 1,000 people register. It's amazing. The demand was so intense that we had to offer yet another seminar. We also held a cost-effective multiple-day seminar, which we called Stenopalooza in May of 2020, to help people get timely seminars at affordable rates. This, of course, helped us when we were forced to pivot and have the NCRA annual convention in the virtual environment, which was new for us and pretty much every other association. As you can imagine, we were all learning as fast as we could to make sure that the association and our members were able to handle what's going on in your work life as fast as possible. Dealing with COVID has forced us all to think differently to compete in this new world. As with any difficult situations, humans tend to evolve with the times to survive. Think about a caterpillar and a butterfly. Caterpillar thinks it's the worst day of his life when he goes into that chrysalis and comes out a beautiful butterfly. Court reporters and captioners to pivot, of course, with the times to survive. That's what the profession did. Many attorneys and court systems seem to be taking let's see approach. Court reporting firms and individuals are figuring out how to close and hold court. One thing the pandemic to establish that record, the guardian of the record, and has the ability to adapt very quickly. Just for a moment, think about the costly digital systems that were installed in courtrooms and sat dormant while courts relied on a reporter working at home or in their office and keeping the record. I would hate to be the court administrator who said, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity for us to save some money when the digital systems are nothing. This adaptability proves the human element is critical and can withstand even a global pandemic. I've heard from other members of the court family that some of them are relying more on the reporter to manage the record, and many reporters have more control than they've had in the past. While that might be a bit more work, it is also recognition of the human that is in charge of the record, which is something you should be proud of. While that is, we also cannot sleep on this opportunity. Those that promote the digital record are always looking for ways to take those money-making opportunities away from you. That's a fact, and that's one that we cannot shy away from. The best way that we can continue to prove the value of the stenographic record is to remind people that you are the gold standard. And you do that by being value added, keeping your certifications up, making sure you're on the cutting edge of education opportunities, and providing the best service. Because the one thing you provide that is above everything else is that great customer service. Switching gears here a bit, we've all had to adapt to this new normal. Students, teachers, firms, officials, captioners, scopists, certified legal videographers, all of us have had to figure out how to handle being remote. And while the vaccine is being rolled out and this country is working to get back to some semblance of what we had before the pandemic, we need to understand that some things have progressed and will not go back to the way they were before. That's the reality. In almost every state during the pandemic, the notary requirement had been set aside, and I am not sure if that will be replaced to what it was before. In some instances, the notary was actually a hindrance to doing business in neighboring states. If you were in Northern California and you had to go to Oregon to take a depot, sometimes those notaries would not interchange with each other. That happened in a lot of different states. Actually, a couple of states have actually done away with the notary requirement before the pandemic because a reporter mostly only uses it to swear in the witness. Actually, in Congress this past session, there was a bill that was introduced talking about having a national notary. And we understand that there are pros and cons about that, but NCRA will continue to monitor that as it gets reintroduced in the next session of Congress. We are looking at all aspects of that bill. While we're talking about state issues, it's important to mention that California passed a bill a couple of years ago that could threaten the way how court reporters did business and captioners. The bill, AB 5, which stands for Assembly Bill 5, the number, would have reclassified independent contractors in all industries to make them employees. That bill was fraught with many flaws and just recently clarifying information that will help protect those individuals that want to remain independent contractors. Sometimes reporters don't want to work as an employee just for one firm. They want to be able to pick and choose their jobs. And we feel that that is an important component. As you may or may not know, about 65% of NCRA members are considered freelancers. 30% are officials and 5% and 8% are captioners and CLVS and other. So it's a pretty big demographic that are independent contractors. There's a couple other states that we're looking at similar bills that we are tracking, and we'll have more information as 2021 session begins on those bills. On the federal level, we of course have been dealing with pretty much strictly all COVID legislation, but NCRA has been following those stimulus bills that passed last year and actually are making their ways through Congress right now to make sure how it impacts our profession. For your information, NCRA has a whole page dedicated to what the legislation means to our members. And as any bill progresses, we will keep updating that. This is good information for you on what is available from the federal government and how you might be able to apply for it through the government portals. NCRA's Government Relations Department is also following your state legislatures, and we'll be working with your state associations when and where they need guidance. Another great resource that NCRA is working with is one of our committees. The NCRA Strong Committee are the group of dedicated volunteers who are tracking and compiling information on digital and electronic recording. That committee is also providing assets that the state associations and interested members can deploy when faced with digital challenges. If anyone is interested in learning more or serving on that committee or needs assistance in the fight against ER, please contact our Government Relations Department at NCRA. Jocelyn Moore is the head of the NCRA Government Relations Department and is fabulous to work with. This is just one of the many things that NCRA does for you as a member. I want to take a moment and talk about membership versus non-membership. If you're not a member, I strongly encourage you to join. There are so many reasons for joining, and only when you look into it and take advantage of all the member benefits, then you truly see the value of belonging to your professional association. For example, we have one member benefit with Staples that you can order your supplies through Staples and get significant discounts. If you use that enough, that alone can pay for the savings, can pay for your membership. And trust me, over the years, I've heard all the reasons not to join. But think about it this way. Are we stronger together or going it alone separately? An association is there for multiple reasons, but advocacy and education are really key to the success of any industry. I want you to think about something else too. For joining NCRA, it is only 86 cents per day to belong to your professional association that advocates for you. 86 cents per day, less than $1. Additionally, paying your dues is a tax deduction for you. That's right. By paying your dues to your national and state association, it lowers your taxability. What a deal that is. Can't beat it. Finally, on being a member of the organization, one of the things that being a member does, it allows you to have a voice. If you don't like the way something's going, you have the ability to vote on it. And look at this past election, we had a record number of people voting in the presidential election, and every vote and voice counted. We need your voices and votes in the NCRA family. It's so important to look at the future of the organization and see where we're going, but we need your input and we need you as a member. To further highlight what your professional association is doing for you, I kind of want to tell you about some of the highlights of 2020 and what you can look forward to in 2021. Understanding that NCRA has been working with us, all of us, through this COVID situation, we all know that 2020 has been tough mentally on all of us. NCRA came together and put together a full week of webinars that focused only on mental health. There was no charge to members, and we had an amazing turnout. I personally was on every call and learned so much about how to deal with stress and tips to manage it. These seminars were yet another way to provide value to our members. If you go to NCRA's homepage, there are links to additional mental health resources for members to take advantage of. We care about how you're doing. It's very important that we all come out of this in a good mental state. It is very tough. As mentioned before, the National Court Reporters Foundation, or NCRF, has been knocking out some fabulous programs, including the Veterans History Project. Also, they work on the Angels program, which provides scholarship money for students, and an exciting new program that we will be rolling out in early 2021. The Career Launcher program will help new professionals entering the profession out of school or their first years on the job. The Career Launcher program will give you real-world scenarios and help people through the jitters of their jobs, as well as help firms onboard new reporters to their individual ways that they have individuals working for the firm. Sometimes firm A wants you to provide this, your transcript this way. Sometimes firm B would like you to provide it this way. This is kind of best practices of all of that. And think about when you were first starting out, if you are a court reporter or captioner, when you first started out, you were sometimes there was an internship, sometimes there wasn't. We're trying to provide some best practices and some real good tips for you coming out so you can be successful right out of the gate. This is a groundbreaking program, and we are very excited for it to roll out, so be on the lookout for that. NCRA in 2020 also held an in-person CLVS, Certified Legal Videographer, training at our headquarters in Reston, Virginia in October. Over a dozen individuals came from throughout the country to do hands-on training, and NCRA made sure we had extensive safety protocols in place to ensure that a safe and a highly effective training class was available to the CLVS individuals. We had an amazing response of people. No one got sick, and it was a template of how we can have safe meetings in the future. Also, NCRA's Educational and Professional Development Department has been very active with enhancements to educational opportunities in 2020 and more going into 2021. We had an amazing response to testing opportunities. We had almost doubled the amount of people taking testing in 2020 that we did in 2021. It's very interesting that people are taking this downtime in 2020 to enhance their skills and get more certifications, understanding that those certifications can translate into hard dollars for them. We've also taken the opportunity of the written knowledge test, or WKT, to test online, and the response has been great. It no longer has to be online. We've provided online learning opportunities, and we'll continue to add more in 2021. As a matter of fact, put January 21st on your schedule. We have a cool seminar coming up that will be on how to create a retirement plan. And this is basically a talk on income, investing, and taxes. I think one of the things that a lot of court reporting programs don't focus enough on is how to be a small business, and what do you do with taxes? Do you want to be an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp? All of those things are truly critical on how much or how little you're paying taxes. So join us on January 21st for that. For those that have received an automatic cycle extension for your CEUs, Just a reminder that you must complete your CEU requirements before the January 31st deadline. Very important to remember. You can also reach out to our continuing education department if you have any questions on that. Just recently this month, we had over 200 people that took advantage of the holiday bundle we offered this month for CEUs. Next year, we are also offering 4 skills tests for you and 3 written knowledge tests. So there are plenty of opportunities to spread out your learning. And finally, one of the things we'd like to highlight is NCRA has been working with our A to Z partners. And that's a program, the NCRA A to Z program, where we try to get people into learning about the profession before they actually enter court reporting school. Kind of a funnel to court reporting school. It's an introduction to the profession, to the steno machine. And of course, there's not a lot of in-person hands-on training going around right now, but we are working with our partners to see how we can continue that online learning and looking forward to the next generation of reporters and captioners. In other areas, NCRA changed and moved our paper source book, which is about 2 to 3 inches thick. That was our directory. We moved that to an all digital format. This keeps our commitment to providing cost-effective solutions to the organization and to our bottom line, while increasing the accessibility and reach of the product, since now it is in a digital format. This can go out to your clients. It can go out to, it's very easy for people to find you if you are out there in an area that is looking for work. Also, this is something I'm very proud of, that in 2019, NCRA staff and board delivered the first year in over a decade, we came in with a modest surplus on our budget. Now, many folks may say, okay, why does that matter? Well, of course, it comes down to dollars and cents. If you don't have the money to run the organization, then we can't provide the services. But this is why it's important. Over the past dozen years, the expenses spent by the association exceeded the revenue generation. And unfortunately, that led to some deficit spending. The staff and board made a commitment to reviewing every expense, and we went back and restructured multiple contracts for savings. In 2020, we are hoping for a similar result and are watching every membership dollar that comes in, and we are making sure that the value is there when any expense is spent. These are your membership dollars. We are using them most effectively. Also in 2019 and 2020, the NCRA board opened up some of our board meetings for individuals to either listen to or view the board meetings. They could also submit questions ahead of time. The board's commitment to transparency is extremely impressive and ongoing. As a matter of fact, one of the bench posts for nonprofits called GuideStar, we have received one of their transparency awards, which we are very proud of. Going forward into 2021, there's even more to look forward to. Just want to touch on a couple things going into 2021 for you. In early 2021, NCRA will be updating our strategic plan. For those that don't understand this, what a strategic plan is, it is basically the roadmap for any organization's priorities. And NCRA will be updating ours and setting our priorities for the next 3 years. This is why membership matters. NCRA will be asking for members' input on what we should be focusing on. So if you do get a short survey from NCRA, please take the time to fill it out. This is your opportunity to have your voice and your ideas heard and incorporated. Stay tuned in Q1 of this year for that exciting project, and be on the lookout for those surveys, please. Also, NCRA's 2021 Court Reporting and Captioning Week will be from February 6th through the 13th. And our theme this year is All You Need is Love and Steno. There is a NCRA resource page on our website for how you can participate and why it's important to let people know of the importance of the celebration of this week. Once again, if we're not out there tooting our horn and telling people what we're doing, there's a potential that we miss an opportunity for the decision makers to know how important your job is. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a few dates to remember that you might be interested in. You can also go to our website, www.ncra.org, for more details. Okay, this is one of my favorites. NCRA's Leadership and Legislative Boot Camp, which this is going to be held on May 2nd through the 4th in Washington, D.C., if COVID allows it to happen. If not, we might push it or we might have it virtually. But it's an excellent opportunity for you to learn the basics of how to advocate for yourself. People who have gone through this program have not only advocated for court reporting and captioning issues, but has also gone out and used it for their own personal issues. I personally know that somebody that went through the training went out and lobbied their city council to have a skate park because there was a lot of skateboarders in their neighborhood. Somebody who actually helped me train, who was a court reporter who went on to be a U.S. House of Representatives Hill reporter. He was so in love with politics after going through the boot camp training, became a city councilman in 2 different cities that he lived in. And also one person that went through the boot camp became an assistant mayor of a city. It's fabulous. Once you become that advocate, you realize that you have the change and have an impact on everything. Our annual convention this year will be held in Las Vegas at the Planet Hollywood from July 29th through August 1st. And we sure hope you can join us there. I think by that point in time, everybody will be really looking forward to getting out and seeing each other. And I think that's unfortunately one of the things that COVID has taken away from us is the ability to connect. It's interesting. You guys have a very unique lexicon when you're talking about, I was taking this attorney's depot and this happened and that happened. And, how do you stroke this word or, what are your briefs here? It's great to have that connection online. And I appreciate the way that we've all been able to move to the Zoom platforms or WebEx or whatever. But meeting in person, I don't think will ever go away because people enjoy the company of each other. And unless you're married or have a significant other that's a court reporter, they don't get what you do. And that's the importance of an association and participating with your colleagues. It really comes down to that community. So I hope you can join us July 29th through August 1st in Las Vegas. I'm sure it will be a little warm there too. Okay, as 2020 closes, I want to thank all of you for your dedication to this profession. Truly, without you, there is no industry and there is no association. We are all in this together, and I personally am honored to be part of the court reporting and captioning profession. I will continue to fight for and with you to make this profession even better. That's my promise to you. If there's anything that I can do for you, please send me an email at dwenhold@ncra.org. Once again, that's dwenhold@ncra.org. and I will do my very best to help you out or put you in connection with somebody on staff that can help you out. So please join me, the NCRA staff, and the NCRA board in being part of this future that we're creating. We really need you to recruit your friends to be part of this in both your state and national associations. These organizations are the ones protecting your livelihood, and we need every single person as a member. United we stand. Thank you, Shanice, and thank you to the members who listened to the. I wish you and your loved ones safe, healthy, and prosperous 2021.